Hi guys, Zach here, and welcome to another Game Maker Studio tutorial. Today what I want to focus on, which was by a viewer's request, was to create a system to where the enemy flashes red or flashes just in its alpha transparency value when it gets hit by a bullet or whatever you would like to do. So here what I've done is I've constructed a project right before this video which holds a player and 5 enemies in the game. I've then made just a simple shooting system with the bullets, and you can shoot towards your mouse and the enemies just start chasing you very slowly. And you know what? I'm going to actually make the bullet a little bit faster. We'll make it 10. If you're curious to know how I went about creating just a simple system, the patron users will have this for download. Alright, so let's go ahead and begin. So the first thing we're going to do when creating a system like this is we're going to go to our enemy here, and we're obviously going to make some sort of collision event with our bullet. So collision with our bullet, and I'm just going to simply say with other instance destroy. And of course that's going to destroy the bullet. Now what we're going to do is in the draw event of the enemy, we're going to draw the sprite out. So draw underscore sprite underscore ext. So we're going to want to use the extended version of this draw sprite method because we want to tap into the alpha value or the color value of our enemy. So here we're just going to say sprite index, image index, and do this because if your enemy sprite has an animation, you're going to want to keep it at the right index. Don't just put 0. We're going to want to draw it at our x and y value, and then our x scale is going to be 1 and our y scale is going to be 1. This is basically the x scale alters the width of the sprite, and the y scale alters the height of the sprite. So its default is 1. So if we made that instead of 1, we say 2, then it's going to stretch out that sprite double its size in height. So the rotation is 0. Our color, now this is where you can go ahead and begin to experiment with things. So for now in this video, I am going to use the alpha value to alter anything, but you can easily do the same exact thing with a color. So here I'm going to say see white because that's the default. See white will just draw it out how it actually is, and then our alpha value, and I'm going to put in alpha. And this variable that we put in right here has not actually yet been created, so I'm going to go ahead and go to the create event of our enemy, and I'm going to say alpha equals 1. So you'll notice if we run the game, just by doing that alone, you see everything looks normal, everything's drawn correctly, but now in our enemy, if I say 0.2 for our alpha and run the game, as you can see, they're now faded. So the alpha goes from 1 being the highest and 0 being the lowest. So 0.2, if I put it at 0, you wouldn't actually be able to see them at all. So I'm going to leave this back at 1. I'm also going to create another variable in the create event. And here I'm going to see there are a couple of different ways you can go about actually creating this system. You can go about it with a Boolean value to kind of alter it back and forth, or you can go at it with an integer value to just count up the steps until it's active again. And so if you don't know what I mean by that, we're going to use the integer value, and then once you kind of understand how you use the integer value method, then we can go ahead and I can show you the Boolean method. All right. So here I'm going to say get hit equals 0, and basically I'm going to say max hit equals, and we'll say 30. Or actually, you know, let's call it hit underscore steps equals 30. Now I put it in all capital letters because this is just a convention I like to use. Anything that's in capital letters like that, I don't want to ever be changed really. inside the game. So now I know, just from my standpoint, if I were developing a game like this, this is a one-time value. We're not going to really be changing that. Unless it's in the step event or in the create event where we don't like that value, we want to lower it. But in game, we'll never actually be accessing that variable. Now again, that's not something that, I mean, I could access this variable. That's just a convention that I put out there for myself. So you don't have to use that convention at all. All right, so in our collision with our bullet, I'm going to say if get hit equals 0, which it does, alarm 0 equals, and here we can put whatever we'd really like. We'll say 15, and get hit plus plus. So in other words, what this code is doing is checking if our get hit value is at 0, which by default we created it at 0, so yes, it will be. We're going to start up an alarm 0 equals 15, and then our get hit plus plus, so it no longer equals 1, or I'm sorry, 0, and now equals 1. So if we were to hit another bullet at it, it wouldn't actually start up another alarm. And for now, what I'm going to do actually is I'm going to set alarm 0 to equal 1 because I instantly want it to mark on. I don't want any sort of delay when we hit it. So in alarm 0, all I can do is say if get hit is greater than or equal to max hit, which we created. I'm sorry, hit steps. My apologies. So if get hit is greater than or equal to hit steps, which we can actually do equals, but just as like a fail-safe method, we're going to do greater than or equal to. So this means that our get hit is more than 30, then we set alpha to equal 1, and we set get hit to equal back to 0. So that's if it is equal to that, right? So, but if it's not, we're going to totally bypass that, and we're going to say else get hit plus plus if alpha equals 1, alpha equals 0.2, else alpha equals 1. And then we're going to say alarm 0 equals 15. So what this is doing right now is we're adding the get hit. So after 30 steps of this, then we will stop with the alarm 0 and we'll stop altering everything. Here we say if alpha is equal to 1, so again, if it's equal to 1, then we're setting it to 0.2, and then if it goes through it again in 15 steps, it'll notice, hey, alpha does not equal 1, and that means it has to be 0.2, which means that the alpha will be set back to 1, making a sort of flashing animation. So let's go ahead and test the game. So here's my player, and I shoot him, and look at that, we've got a little flash. Pretty cool. And you know, you can't really hit him again at all until, and you know, that's a pretty long time. 30 steps. So instead of 15, let's say 3. So this, just by doing that, it'll increase the flash. So if I do that, see, now that looks a lot better. So let's add sort of like a health system to our enemies, just so we can kind of see how that would look. So I'm going to say health, or HP, equals 100. And then in the collision with the bullet, I'm only going to say HP minus equals 10 if our get hit equals 0, because while it's flashing, and we can do the same concept to the player as well if we hit the enemy, but while it's flashing, we want the we want the enemy to be invincible, pretty much. So then in the step event, if HP is less than or equal to 0, instance destroy. So now if we run it, and I constantly hit this guy, and we're trying to beat him. And this also looks really good with the knockback effect, which I've made a tutorial on before. Go ahead and check that out in the description. Oh, they're all gathering up here. Let's make it a little bit faster for them to actually die by saying minus equals 25. So it takes 4 bullets. There's 3, and then he should die in this one. Boom! Cool. So again, you can do the same concepts to the actual player too, which is what I did in my game, So Much Blood. When you would hit the enemy, your character would flash. And I think that's what the user was asking about with my game and how I went about doing that. So that's pretty much exactly the code I used to make that flashing effect. So leave a like, go and subscribe. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section, and let me know if you have any suggestions for tutorials that you want to see. And I will talk to you next time. Peace.